talk, I feel like it's serious because I want to preach more topics that are seen as like unconventional or like going against what society preaches to show you guys like these things aren't actually horrible. So, to make a long story short, and I'll be doing this while I'm folding my clothes. So, if y'all see me moving back and forth, that's what I'm doing, right? Okay, so boom. So, I was sitting here cleaning my room and I just start to thinking, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to adopt this practice and I'm going to try to make it common because I feel like it's important to reflect on who you once were and who you are now. Just to see, like, did I really change? You know what I mean? Because we're human beings. We should always be changing and evolving for the greater good. You know what I mean? Not for, not for the worst, for the good, okay? We should always be changing and evolving from the past, right? And so yeah, I just got to thinking, I'm like, I definitely did change from the past, right? What was one thing that, what was one of the biggest things that really changed about me? If y'all are hearing noise in the background, that's my family. What was one thing that like really changed about me from the past? And one of my biggest traits about myself that I changed was the way I give and receive, right? To others and also to myself. Number one, I stopped pouring from an empty cup. I stopped being so selfless to the point where I would be doing any and everything for other people while I barely had anything because they weren't really doing the same for me, right? Basically, to make a long story short, one of the biggest things that has changed about me from the past is that I become a lot more selfish. And rightfully so. There is nothing wrong with being selfish. That's number one. People, and I'm not gonna say names, but there are definitely people who have made me felt like shit because I was quote unquote selfish. Y'all, look at this stuff that I got from the store, y'all. Like this is mad cute. Look at it. Ooh, it's so cute. It's so cute. Period. I'm not gonna fold it because I still gotta try it on, which I'm gonna do today. But yeah, I realized that when it comes to like my past relationships, whether it be friendships, because when people think relationships, people just think romantic. Please don't box in relationships into that small category. When I say relationships, I'm meaning, family members, you know what I mean? Relations with family members, friendships, romantic partnerships, other platonic partnerships, acquaintances, all of that, right? I noticed that a common theme was that I would always be giving more than I was receiving. You know what I mean? And part of that is the fact that I am a people pleaser. And I say I am and not I was because I still have people pleasing ways. I'm learning how to I'm learning how to make it more healthy to the point where I'm not so focused on people pleasing to the point where it's coming to my own detriment. But I mean, yeah, I think I'll always be a people pleaser. Like, that's just who I am, right? But I literally used to be doing anything for any and everybody. Like, you could ask me for some money, I'd give it to you. You ask me for some food, I give it to you. I'm very giving, I'm very nice. And I know it seems contradicting because I know me, including some people, probably be like, girl, nice people don't say they're nice. But when I say it, I truly mean it. Like, I'm so nice, I have to acknowledge the fact that I'm nice because I'm overly nice to the point where it comes to my own downfall, right? And yeah, I don't know. I don't think it was a certain like moment where I was like, man, I'm gonna stop giving and I'm gonna start giving more to myself. It just happened over time. Like I just slowly started transitioning, right? And one thing I noticed is that whenever I would, you know what I mean, as I was transitioning, whenever I would become more selfish and I would do more things for me and stop doing them for other people, a lot of people, like multiple people, everybody damn near would gaslight me. And like whenever I would do a selfish act, now mind you, when I say selfish, it doesn't always mean to somebody else's detriment or downfall. When I'm doing a selfless act, I mean selfish is that it only benefits me. It doesn't necessarily harm anybody else, but it really only benefits me. But I'm not harming other people in the process, if that makes sense. I would never want to harm somebody in the process. So yeah, you guys, whenever I would do these, make these selfish decisions, you know what I mean, that only benefit me, people would gaslight me. They would be like, "Oh, you're selfish. That's wrong. That's like, you know what I mean? How could you only think about yourself? You need to think about, and what about us? Like, what about your friends? What about your family? This, that, and the third." But it's like, where was this same outrage? Like, I noticed, and I'm not that I noticed, I'm just now noticing that these people, they didn't have this type of reaction when I was pouring from an empty cup. Nobody sat me down and was like, "Hey sis, like, you know what I mean? You don't got to keep giving to people. Like, you know what I mean? You should focus on yourself. Like, give to yourself, you know what I mean? Don't keep giving to others, you know what I mean?" But when I do something and when I make a decision that only benefits me, it's an issue. But when I was pouring from an empty cup to the point where it was coming to my own downfall, and I mean, I'm pretty good at hiding my emotions, but like, people are comfortable, and that's the thing. People were comfortable letting me pour from an empty cup, watching like me mentally go down, my mental go down the drain, as long as it benefited them, right? So when I decide to be selfish, I'm sorry, the crying, like, it's throwing me off track. When I decide to be selfish, it's an issue. Absolutely not. So they would gaslight me and be like, "Oh my gosh, you're so selfish, this, that, and the third." Like, you guys don't know how many times in my life I've heard, "You're selfish, you're selfish, you're selfish." Look, one thing about me, when it's time to be caring to others and it's time to, you know what I mean, give back and do all of that, and you know what I mean, do selfish, selfless acts for others, I'm always there. I'm number one, sign up, right? But when it's time to put me first, I'm gonna put me first. So to make a long story short, you guys, I've been putting me first nowadays, and I have absolutely no regrets about it. I would encourage, in fact, I would encourage every single person to put themselves first. Number one rule though, make sure you're not doing it to anybody else's detriment, right? Try not to do multiple selfless acts. Like, I mean, it's gonna come to a point where you might have to do one selfless act that comes to somebody's detriment, but try not to make that the reoccurring theme, right? Like, I just had to do a selfish act that somewhat came to somebody's detriment, and I 100% feel bad about it. You know what I mean? If I could have all selfless acts that wouldn't really affect other people, I would do it. But I mean, that's just how life is sometimes, right? Just try not to make that the reoccurring theme, and also ask yourself, is the selfish act you're about to do, is that really like important? You know what I mean? Is it really worth, you know what I mean, coming to somebody else's downfall? Like, you know what I mean? So just ask yourself those questions. And yeah, you guys, be more selfish. Like, there's nothing wrong with being selfish. I hate the not the negative connotation that is applied to selfish, because it's like half the time, the matter of fact, all the time, majority of the time, the people that called me selfish were selfish themselves. You're calling me selfish because I'm deciding to make a decision that finally, for the first time in a fucking while, I'm making a decision that benefits me. You're calling me selfish because the decision doesn't benefit you. Don't you see how that's hypocritical and contradicting? You're calling me selfish because I'm making a decision that doesn't benefit you. It doesn't necessarily bring you down, but it doesn't benefit you. But I'm selfish? No, you're selfish because you can't see that I'm just putting me first and I'm looking out for me, because that's what we got to do in this world. At the end of the day, we came in here alone and we're going to die alone. So it's like, you got to look out for you. You got to put you first, because ain't nobody else going to do it, right? Ain't nobody going to do it for you. So all of a sudden, I'm selfish, I'm this, I'm that. But aren't you the same? And if so, like, what's wrong with being selfish? Right? What's wrong with being selfish? As long as it's not coming to anybody else's detriment. Some people automatically apply selfishness to the detriment of others. That's not necessarily the case. Although it tends to be like a, you know what I mean, a reoccurring theme, it's not always the case. So, yeah, you guys, be more selfish and put you first, because at the end of the day, all you have is you. That's the end of this video. I hope y'all enjoyed this talk, and I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.